What is up, everybody? Today I want to analyze one of my training days. For those of you who watched my most recent day in the life eating video, these are the workouts from that day. I chose to keep the videos separate just so that the video wouldn't run too long, and also to give more of an opportunity to talk the reasons why I do what I do as far as training currently. To get into a little bit of my current approach to training before we get into the actual footage. Basically, a little background. I've never really had a solid foundation for training. What I mean by that is I've never really had, up until when I worked with mountain dog training, I never really followed a set program. I just went on feel. I got the idea originally from Jay Cutler, watching a lot of his videos when I first started training. My ideology behind that was just watch the pro bodybuilders because they are there for a reason, and that's my ultimate goal, is to be a professional. As I progressed, I started learning, obviously, the pro bodybuilders sometimes don't have a rhyme or reason of why what they do works for them. So eventually I started stepping away from that. Eventually started working with mountain dog training and doing those programs, and I saw pretty good results with those. I would say my only criticism of those is that they are very long. I think John does a really good job at minimizing fatigue and maximizing recovery. I think for me, the volume was a little too excessive to where not more so I was just spending a lot of time in the gym. Fast forward to now, I work with Stan Efferding and also Flex Wheeler with the vertical diet. A lot of Stan's recommendations are based on current science. So things regarding frequency and volume, and basically when I went to Stan, he recommended a split. Basically the split requires 2 double days, which you'll see one of my double days here. The idea behind the double day training is that you are creating more frequency. You're splitting up your volume. There's a good amount of research to suggest, say, let's just, for example, you did 20 sets of legs on Monday. It would be more beneficial as far as recovery and fatigue to do, instead of 20 sets on Monday, 10 sets of legs on Monday and 10 sets of legs on Thursday. So, and I think that also works on the micro level. So where we're doing the double day training, it is a little bit anecdotal as well. Stan has mentioned in the past that the reason he has his athletes do that is because that is a lot of what people were doing in the 90s. That is what worked for him when he turned professional as well. As far as body composition, I can say anecdotally I feel the same way. I look a lot more full. I'm allowed to rest in between workouts, which allows me to optimize recovery a little bit better, and actually optimize my mental fatigue as well, because I'm not spending 2 to 3 hours in the gym. I know I'm going to be there for 45 minutes, so I have to push myself. So yeah, that's kind of how that approach is working. The workout you're going to see is going to be chest and shoulders in the morning, and then I do back and a little bit of arms at night. That's one of the workouts. Tuesday following is going to be legs. So we split the workout up, hamstrings and then quadriceps in the PM, and then I rest, and then we do a push-pull legs. So that's basically my split currently. Other things to look at as I'm training. I am not training to complete muscular failure. I leave reps in reserve. A lot of that is based off of the information I've seen put out by Mike Israetel and a lot of the other researchers in his kind of circle, basically talking about how once you do hit failure, your fatigue increases like drastically, but your gains don't necessarily increase with that. So it makes more sense, because when you're at a rep in reserve, your fatigue isn't as bad, it's more manageable, and you still get what as far as research shows, pretty much the same amount of gains, if not just a little bit less. So it makes more sense from a recovery standpoint. So I am currently 4 weeks into a Meso Cycle. For those of you who don't know what a Meso Cycle is, it is a training block lasting around a month or a couple of months. And I currently run a 6 week block. Basically start with less reps in reserve, less volume, and I build up over time throughout the Meso Cycle. I would say I'm not perfect with those variables just yet. As far as that goes, I am still kind of playing it by ear. I do need to look into more of the literature and do some more research to kind of solidify some of the ways I approach it. Currently, I kind of look at my program from a day-to-day basis as far as fatigue management and how the program's looking, how I actually perform that specific day is how I make adjustments. So basically I save all of my exercises in an Excel doc. As the weeks go on, I actually will track the weights used or the volume. I'll put little notes about how my training is currently going. But essentially towards that 6-week mark, I'm building up volume, I'm building up weights, I'm tracking the weights as I go. I may add exercises, I may change exercises based on performance and go from there. But basically I am kind of playing it by ear. Once I hit that 6th week of the Meso Cycle, that is where I am going all out. Top end sets to failure. I'm at my max amount of volume, and then I will deload in the following week. For me, that means removing any spinal loading exercises like deadlifts or squats, anything that can be extremely stressful. Probably be training around a RPE of 7 or reps in reserve of 3 to 4, something like that, and maybe even cut the volume back a little bit. And then I basically just restart the Meso Cycle. I may change out some exercises, start the volume at the minimum, and keep reps in reserve. So to talk specifically about what I did in this video, the first thing you're going to see me do is a mobility exercise. I do a couple of things for mobility. This one that you're going to see me doing is for mobility in my rotator cuff and external rotation. I will put the photo up of why I'm doing this specifically, but basically I went to see someone, a chiropractor, and someone who specializes in mobility, and they noticed that I had a compensation in my back. And I noticed it first because I had a coach who said, hey, it looks like your spine isn't aligned. So that worried me. But basically, because I can't externally rotate all the way, scapula will actually take over and it'll pull inward to make up for the amount of movement that I lack in my shoulder. And that also can lead to injuries and stuff like that. So that is the reason for doing that. Otherwise, I do over and backs of the band and just make sure I run the muscle through the range of motion with light weight before I get to top end sets. So I do a lot of warm-ups. So here you'll see me doing a low incline dumbbell press. Low incline because I want to take the stress off the shoulders, put it on the pecs. I'm going to be using as full of range of motion as I can. So I almost sometimes I'm trying to pull the dumbbell down a little bit where I'm lacking that range of motion. I keep my form pretty standard on all exercises. So I make sure I'm using full range of motion, trying to contract the weight up. And then here is my top end set. So I will go to where I feel I have 1 rep left and then rack the weight. Next, you'll see me do dips. So with the dips, same thing, getting as much range as I can. I'm trying to stop at the bottom a little bit and just push through my pecs, almost squeezing my elbows together, and trying not to just use momentum to get my weight up. Same thing again there, you'll see me go with a rep of reserve and stop, and that's trying to beat my reps from the previous week. And then here we have a shoulder press. I could probably press a lot more weight on shoulders, but I was only coming to a 90 before. So here you'll see me try to dip below 90 degrees and just try to get as much range and try to actually contract the weight up with my shoulders. My rest for all exercises is 2 minutes right now. I've heard some people speak against resting 2 minutes, but I like having a standard amount of time that I rest, because then all variables are controlled and I can see if I'm actually progressing. My opinion based off of that is that if you are resting random amounts of time, you can actually be more or less recovered. So if you're trying to beat your weight or reps for the week previous, and say you only rested a minute and you don't beat the reps, that could be why, but you won't know because you're not actually tracking your rest. So next you're going to see me do doing my PM workout. So I'm going to be doing rows off the end of a bench. I'm not doing them free weight because I want to minimize the amount of load that I'm putting on my spine, my spinal erectors, and to minimize the amount of fatigue, and also just isolate the target muscle. A lot of my training is based around minimizing fatigue and maximizing muscle recruitment, so I can be ready to go again for my second session of the week. And then here I actually made an on-the-fly decision. I was doing a mag grip pull down. If you don't know, those are like the ergonomic cable attachments. I wasn't feeling getting full range of motion, and I wasn't feeling it as good. So I came back to this exercise, and I just felt an insane contraction. So I'm basically going to switch out the mag grip pull downs and keep this one in. My workouts usually look the same week to week, but if I feel like something's working, I just get rid of it and go on to the next thing. And that's basically how I select exercises too, is if I feel an extremely good contraction, I feel really good when I do it, I just keep it in and get rid of what doesn't work. And that's how I basically grow. I think that's a major key to my success as far as training. So next, I just have a little arm superset that I do. I'm resting 2 minutes in between supersets. So I may actually shorten that up a little bit, because that means each muscle is getting about 3 minutes of rest. First is a tricep extension. I had to play around with my hand grip a little bit on these to actually get a really good contraction. I found that for me personally, I feel it best here, not here. I'm also making sure I'm standing fairly close to the cable attachment. The further you get away, the less I feel in my triceps. And making sure I'm getting a really good stretch on my triceps at the top. And then I'm just trying to hit as close to failure as I can while squeezing my triceps. And next thing you're going to see me do is a hammer curl. This is going to be for brachialis and I believe what is called the short head of the tricep, the muscle you see mostly in back double bicep poses. And then I do a supinated grip for my other bicep day. So basically there you're just going to see me trying to keep my elbow back the whole way and just flex the weight up as much as I can without using momentum. So yeah, that's basically my Monday workouts. In the future, I may be doing some of my other day workouts. I'm trying to keep my split pretty much the same throughout my prep. So I'm going to be continuing trying to keep the weights progressing as close as I get to the show. So yeah, basically that's what my training is looking like on Mondays. I will hopefully do one of my other split days in the future, or just one of my push-pull leg days, and talk a little bit how my approach is a little bit different for those days. If you enjoyed the video today, please subscribe, like the video, leave comments down below on any questions. I'll answer all of them. And if you're interested in coaching or apparel, I do have my website linked down below as well. And also Instagram. I will be doing my best to post daily on that moving forward too. So again, thank you all for watching. Have a great day, okay?